What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Thursday edition of NFL Turf Talk here right on DSM Media. If you guys aren't already, make sure you're following DSM Media at DSM_media. That's on Twitter. On Instagram, we are at DSM do something major. Make sure to follow either one of those social media platforms. You'll find our link tree. That'll plug you in with every single social media platform we're available on, which is all of them. As well as any podcast streaming service that you prefer, Apple, Spotify, whatever you prefer. You can find us on there as well. We also got a merch site up on our link tree as well. Make sure if you're supporting DSM, support us all the way. Grab some DSM merch. I am here tonight, as always, with my co-host, Dylan Davis. You guys can find him on Twitter at DylanJD98. And, of course, we have a very special guest down below, my man Vance. You can find him on at Crew_Love0, my man. I meant to put your last name in there with your first name, so it threw me off when I went to the at name, Vance. But well, Vance Crew at Crew_Love0. Make sure you're tapping into Vance. As you guys know, if you've watched any of my shows before, I always get Vance on here. Very quality guest. But guys, how are we doing tonight?
Great, man. Great. Thanks for having me on, fellas. I appreciate it.
What's going on, guys? Got the you can't see it, but got the Salute to Service edition shirt on today. Happy Veterans Day, everybody.
Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, everyone, for your service. And got a lot to talk about, Scotty.
Yes, that is right. We're gonna jump right into it tonight. I didn't even introduce myself. I am Scotty. If you don't already know me, you can find me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. Yeah. What's up, Adam? Thanks for checking in tonight. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. But yes, we got a lot to dive into. We're gonna get into first OBJ to the Rams. We are gonna recap Week 9, so we'll touch on the Eagles and Chargers matchup. We'll get into a little bit of that crazy Monday Night Football game. The referee interference that was going on in that game. And then we will jump to takeaways from Week 9, updated power rankings, and we'll finish off with Ravens-Dolphins preview. But let's start off at the top. OBJ to the Rams. Instant thoughts on this decision. I honestly didn't see this coming myself. So I'll toss it to you first, Dylan. What were your initial thoughts on the OBJ signing with the Rams?
I go against the grain a little bit with just I haven't seen a lot of reaction to it, but just seeing our group channel, I like it a lot. I understand the off the field stuff or the locker room stuff. If people are already saying, well, he's just going to start bitching 2 weeks after he's not getting the ball enough, and the Rams are literally going all in. The Rams are trying to buy and manifest a Super Bowl in Los Angeles, but I really, really like it. I mean, you add that talent to that offense, Scotty, that you and I talk a lot about on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Like, you just made a statement. I'm going in. Now, will it work? It all comes down to the off-the-field stuff, the locker room, not the off-the-field stuff, but the locker room stuff. Can he buy in if he's in a rotation with Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, and all those guys? They're going to spread you out. They're going to go 3 wide, 4 wide. So he's going to play a lot of snaps where, they're not a run first team as some of the other teams on the market for him, where like in New England, like Green Bay, not that Green Bay's run first, but you get my point. They run the ball a lot. So from a play perspective, I absolutely love it. It's just another bullet in the chamber, another weapon for that Rams offense and for Sean McVay. But you got to see if the locker room stuff works first.
Yeah. What about you, Vance? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Dylan Dylan pretty much stole my thunder. I mean, at this point, that is the best group of 4 receivers in the NFL. Yeah. And Van Jefferson is actually underrated, I think. Yeah. I think he's a really, really good player who happened to be their third receiver on that team. But, yeah, the offense is pretty much unstoppable and pretty potent at this point when you look at it. Like Dylan said, they can spread you out. Henderson catches the ball out of the backfield. Higbee is also a weapon as well. So, sky is the limit for that team, man. Like, I really think that they're going to do big things in the playoffs.
Yeah, and, you both touched on it. You guys both love OBJ to the Rams. And you mentioned it, Dylan. Phil, Jason, they were not big fans of OBJ going to the Rams. I'm not exactly sure why they aren't fans of it.
It can only be because they think it can mess up whatever culture they have built in that locker room right now. They think if it messes it up that way, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way from a player perspective.
And see, I'm just not a huge believer in it. Like, if he goes there and messes up the culture, then so be it. He's a locker room cancer. Right. But throughout his career, the things that I've seen, the Giants, that was probably his biggest fits when he was on the Giants. The sideline stuff, kicking the net or whatever that was. But aside from those little tantrums of just pure competitiveness and wanting to be a part of the offense, I don't think that he's done anything crazy. I mean, he's tried to get along with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, the connect on the football field never really happened, but that's a run-first, run-heavy team. It's hard for you to build that connection if you want to be that number one receiver there. So as far as OBJ and like the bad attitude, I mean, we'll see. I just, there's usually smoke to or fire to the smoke, but I'll have to see it to believe it one more time, right? But what I will say, the only reason that I don't like, I love it for the Rams. I think it sets the Rams offense up significantly. I just don't like it for OBJ. He goes into another offense where he's going to be fighting for targets, and maybe it does work out. Maybe he becomes a favorite of Matthew Stafford, and he becomes that guy, right? But I just thought, for me, I thought Green Bay was the perfect place for him to go, to be that legit number two opposite side of Devontae Adams. He would get plenty of targets in that offense. But I'm not going to sit here. He made the choice. He wanted to go where he wanted to go, and they're building an all-star team there in LA, which I saw the ring you showed, Dylan. That's what they're going for, and rightfully so. I just, from a personal perspective of myself, I want to see OBJ blossom and show that he's still that top elite receiver, which he still has the possibility to do in the Rams. I just thought there was a higher possibility of that showing completely in Green Bay.
So I get that. But if he's still at that high level, like we're hoping for, he's going to outplay a Robert Woods. He's going to outplay Van Jefferson. Cooper Kupp is one thing. Cooper Kupp is a solid wide receiver. Wide receiver one right now with Matthew Stafford. But like, if OBJ is still at that level where if you plugged him next to Devontae Smith or Devontae Adams, he would go in and dominate. If he's still at that level, he's going to elevate his game above a Robert Woods. Yeah, Phil said they just have enough. They didn't need it. I mean, if you're a Rams fan, if you're the Rams organization, you got it essentially for free. It's a 1 year. You gave up nothing. You didn't have to trade to get him. You signed him. See if it works out. The last thing I'll say about it though, Scotty, is two things. You mentioned the locker room cancer part, like where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire. We heard the same thing about Antonio Brown, and now granted, he got vouched for by the GOAT. And the GOAT moved him into his house. So maybe that had some, rehabilitation factors to his off the field stuff, but he's not that level that AB was at. And the second part is I heard it from, I want to say Dan Orlovsky, and it was a great point. In Cleveland with Baker as your quarterback. Now I like Baker Mayfield as a quarterback, but we know his limitations as a passer at times, right? Yeah. And in Cleveland, everything is down, like the details are down to the thick of it, right? So if he's got to be at this spot at this time for Baker to deliver him the ball on the spot, right? OBJ with his skill set should be able to play with some sort of freedom, with a guy who can just find him with kind of some schoolyard ball here and there. Yeah. You're going to get that with Matthew Stafford in the Rams offense. So in a more systematic, detailed, refined kind of offense that Cleveland's running, where he's got to be here at this spot, he'll make out okay in LA.
Yeah, I agree. And just to add to what Dylan said, the Rams don't bring OBJ into that locker room if they think that they're going to have a problem. They've got enough guys on that team. They've got Von Miller now. They have Aaron Donald that's been there forever. They have strong veteran presence in that locker room. So, that makes this signing it makes a lot of sense to me as to why they were bringing him in. And the second thing is, if you watch the Rams take advantage of matchups. So, OBJ potentially being your third receiver, he's going to have his games where he gets 10 targets because he's going to be lined up against somebody's third best corner or their safety. So he's going to get his targets no matter what.
Yeah, so I guess, in the one final thing I'll add in here with OBJ to the Rams, which we see Phil chime in here. Cooper Kupp isn't solid, Dylan. He's a top wide receiver. Yeah, he is a top wide receiver in the NFL right now.
That's fine, but you can add to the top wide receiver.
Production.
Like, here's the way I look at it, though. As Eagles fans, if we had this loaded offense, if we had this loaded roster, and the Eagles signed, that doesn't have to be OBJ, but they signed another wide receiver that, was this big signing with a lot of talent, we wouldn't be sitting here like, nah, we didn't need it. Like, we would be ecstatic that we added another piece, and that's what the Rams are doing. The Rams are in win-now mode, go win a Super Bowl, and I think that's what this move is all about, really.
And the only other thing that I was going to add in there, Cooper Kupp, he's actually struggled with injuries towards the end of the season, mid-season, the last few seasons. So you got to have insurance for these guys as well. Wide receiver is a very fragile position. All it takes is a tweak of an ankle, and they're out for a few weeks. So I just think you can never have enough talent there. If I'm looking at it from the Rams side, I have zero issue with that. You can never have enough talent on offense. That's just my opinion. Now let's go ahead and move on.
Devontae Adams and OBJ would have been cool, though.
It would have been cool, man. And I would have loved to, see Aaron Rodgers with just that multitude of weapons. But he'll be all right, though. Aaron Rodgers can handle himself. Let's move on to the Chargers and Eagles real quick. Dylan, I know me and you, we got to recap it on Monday, but we definitely can just dive into it for a little bit here with Vance. But obviously, you guys know Herbert, 32 for 38 from the field, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 1 rushing touchdown to go along with it. Totally just diced us up all day. We've never really stood a chance. Had 0 sacks, 0 QB hits in that game. Got literally 0 pressure in that game. Keenan Allen, 12 receptions, 104 yards. Jalen Hurts, 11 for 17, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 10 carries, 62 yards. Got Jordan Howard involved with a touchdown. And, of course, our guy, Devontae Smith, with the huge day, 5 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. It was beautiful to finally see him really explode for that complete game. Should have been 2. My man Dallas Goedert should have had 1 as well, but I digress. Takeaways from this game, guys. Thoughts? I guess let's start with Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the offense. What were our thoughts on that, coming out of this game? And I'll start with you, Vance.
I like what the Eagles did. I like the fact that they ran the ball finally. The issue for me is that the pendulum swings a little bit too far for me. You run the ball, I get it. You run the ball 30-plus times against Detroit. You win the game. You come back and you do the same thing and you only pass the ball 17 times. You don't win in the NFL by passing the ball 17 times. You just don't, especially against an offense like the Chargers. So from that standpoint, was it there was some good to take away from it? Yeah, I like to see the running game. But like I said, the pendulum swings too far. It's got to be somewhere in the middle. You can't throw the ball 17 times or run it 30-plus times in a game where you're playing against a predominantly passing team. Yeah. It just doesn't, it doesn't work like that. And, as far as the Eagles, I looked up a stat today. They're 32nd in the NFL, giving up 75% completion percentage to the other teams. Guys, are you sitting down? They're giving up 80% at home. How are you going to win a football game giving up an 80% completion percentage? You can't. You can't win football games that way. So, I just don't, from one week to the next, guys, all I'm looking to see is a plan that I can rock with. And honestly, I don't see it. This team they don't have an identity on offense. For 7 weeks, they want to throw the ball. Next 2 weeks, they come back and they're running the ball predominantly every down. On defense, it's the same thing week in and week out. Corners playing 10 yards off, easy throws for the quarterback. It just, I'm not seeing the progression that I like to see from the coaching staff in particular.
What about you, Dylan?
Yeah, man. So a couple thoughts. The 80% is something that I've never seen before in my lifetime. I'm not sure many football fans in general have ever.
It's hard to sit through that.
We can have the conversation all night about, is it Gannon? Is it the talent? Is it Gannon? Is it talent? It's obviously both, but which side, is contributing more to this piss poor effort by the defense. But offensively, I agree with Vance. Scotty, it's something you and I talked about after the Detroit game was, okay, great, you finally ran the football. And I'm a big defender of do something till they prove they can stop it. So against Detroit, you ran the ball down their throat. You scored 4 rushing touchdowns. You ran for over 230 rushing yards, right? So why would we do something else? But we didn't learn anything about Jalen Hurts in that game. He threw 11 passes, right? So this week they threw a little bit more. He had a few better plays with his arm, excuse me. So you saw a little bit more from Jalen Hurts. I liked Sirianni's game. It was probably his best called game all year long, but I do agree with Vance. Like, it was more balanced than against Detroit, but it still wasn't balanced enough. And I don't understand the timing. So Vance said, he's not seeing the progression he wants from the coaching staff. I'm not understanding the decision making by how does it take you 7 weeks to run the football, and it took you to lose your best offensive skill position player to do so? You got Jordan Howard off his couch 2 days before the Detroit game. You hand him the ball almost 20 damn times. Boston Scott hadn't seen the field at all, being active every week. Now he's getting the ball and finding the end zone. You do that after you lose Miles Sanders. Then, when Miles Sanders was healthy, Kenny G was your number 2 running back, seeing a lot of playing time. He goes out, meaning Miles Sanders, and Kenny G slides to number 3 behind Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. There's no sense to it.
No
guys.
rhyme or reason, man.
No, man. Like, it's just, I don't know, dude. I can't figure out what their thought process is throughout the week. And I think that's the most disappointing thing about it all is like, dude, how did we get here? How did, I don't know. It's and to your point, to your guys' point, okay, yeah, you're finally running the ball. Congrats. And in Nick's head, he's probably like, well, I'm doing what you guys wanted. All right, dude, you could throw the ball more than 11 times in the game too. You don't got to overdo it. So.
Yeah, and that's, hearing you both kind of talk through that, it changes my outlook because, coming into this and leaving that Chargers and Eagles game, I was thinking, well, at least Sirianni showed a little bit of improvement. Obviously, I still want to see Jalen Hurts given more opportunities to make some plays. But no, you guys are both right. It's just the complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's like these last 2 weeks, he's just been ultra conservative, right? And then in the first 7 weeks, it was just super aggressive. You're passing the ball down the field. So it's like he's not finding the balance, and ultimately you're seeing that in the results. And Adam asks what you guys think the run and pass percentage should be. 50-50. That's in
a perfect world, it's 50-50.
Well, yeah, in a perfect world, 50-50. But right now, the run in the last 2 games, it's been about in that Lions game is about 80-20, 90-10. And in this past game, it was about 70-30. So it's like you got to even it out. You got to balance
what
it out.
It should be, Scotty, is more so around the 60-40 pass first type in today's day and age of the NFL, like Vance said earlier. You're not going to win when you're not throwing the football.
Yeah.
In the NFL right now. So he went from probably 88% pass, 12% run to 75% run, 25% pass. So find the middle ground somewhere, Nick. I'm begging you to find not an even balance. 50-50 is never going to happen. But a 60-40, a 65-35, somewhere in that range, please.
And it's don't run the ball because we want you to. You know what I mean? Do not do what the fan – I saw that. I think it was in the Tampa Bay game where it just seemed like he was calling plays based on the crowd reaction. And I'm just no, stop it. It's the same thing as the T-shirts. You need to stop, trying to acclimate to the fans. You do not need to do that. Focus on what you need to do on the football field and what's successful. So, even just hearing you say that, Dylan, I feel like he does do that stuff. And he's thinking in his head, well, at least
he's the pandering king, dude. He's the pandering king.
At least if we lose running the football, the fans will be happy.
Yeah,
no, we don't want to lose, period. We want you to call a game correctly. And I think that's the biggest thing. But
before we move on to the defense, I do want to ask Vance, because we talked about this on Monday, me, you, and Ginn. the skill position players on this offense. Yeah, there's a lot of holes. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, Vance, on like where you were before the season started on guys like exclude Devontae Smith because we all love the pick and we all think he can be a wide receiver 1 in this league and on this team. But the Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins specifically, Eagles Twitter, a lot of Eagles fan base, a lot of this fan base was trying to talk themselves in or trying to hype up these two young guys. It's their coming out season. Watch out for Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor. He's healthy in a new system, blah, blah, blah. These two aren't it. Like, they are not it for me. I'm done with Jalen Reagor. I called him. He's officially a year and a half in. He is a bust of a first-round draft pick for me. And Quez Watkins hasn't seen more than 3 balls in a game all year long. So what are your thoughts on those two and the skill position players on this team?
So I'll start with Quez Watkins. I think Quez Watkins can do more than what he's shown, but I would like them for them to start targeting him on some intermediate routes. I mean, every time they throw him the ball, it's a go route.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's coaching. That's a coaching issue to me.
Nothing.
I think that he can do more. I think he's shown that if you hit him with the short pass, you saw him on screens in the first game of the season against Atlanta. You haven't seen one since. You saw him on the screen against Pittsburgh in the preseason. You really haven't seen one since. So, again, I go back to coaching and I go back to what is the plan? How do you get these guys the ball? I don't see it consistent. Why aren't they targeting him 5 or 6 times a week? It's not like he's not out on the field. So again, I'm looking at the coach. As far as Rager's been a disappointment. But again, if Reagor was playing for Sean Payton, I think he'd look a lot better, to be honest. I mean, his skill set is limited, in my opinion. It is somewhat limited. He's not an outside receiver. One of the things that they talked about in the beginning of the season was putting him in the slot. What happened to that?
No, dude, don't even get me started on hey, I say it to Scotty every single week. For a dude that got hired as the new head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, to hear him week in and week out in his press conferences preach about putting his guys in a position to succeed, putting his guys in the best position possible, playing to their strengths. Through 8 or 9 weeks, he has done the polar opposite of playing to his guys' strengths. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. I don't know if we see eye to eye on the Jalen Reagor thing.
So don't get me wrong. I think Rager's been a disappointment so far. He's definitely been a disappointment, but I think that there are ways for a coach to get the ball in a player's hands, even a guy that's struggling, to get him some confidence. And I just don't see that with Sirianni. I mean, if we look at what he did with Devontae Smith pretty much went a few weeks where we didn't hear from him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Again, that's coaching because there are opportunities there. And, with Quez Watkins, everything doesn't have to be a long pass. Throw him a screen, get him involved. With Reagor, his skill set is limited. Get him involved in more, receiver sweeps or, jet sweeps or something like that. Let him do the things that he did well at TCU and build off of those things. But I don't see that from Sirianni. Like, every week I look at him and, the first game against Atlanta, I thought, I like the game plan. Every week since I've been like, I don't understand what he's doing. And these are young players too. So you have to wonder, is a young coach the right guy to entrust with these young players to help them develop? I mean, to me, the moment is just too big for Sirianni right now.
For sure.
If you ask me. I don't see the development. I don't see him. This is a guy that used to be a wide receivers coach. I don't see the development. I don't see a plan. No.
But at the same time, if I'm Doug last year, I'm thinking to what you just said, Vance. If I'm them too, I'm like, Howie, you just handed me a first-round draft pick that I have to go out of my way to design things for, just for him to be successful or for him to get the ball. Like, that's more than anything. It's the 20th overall pick that bothers me to no end. It's his social media post that I cannot take anymore. And then it's him having 1 catch for -6 yards, 0 catches, 1 catch for 7 yards. It's like, dude.
Listen, I won't disagree with you. The guy's football acumen, when you catch a football on a screen and you're 5 yards behind the line,
probably go north, right?
Just go down. Just go down. Why are you running back 5 more yards? Like, what are you doing? But
No,
these are things that I just wonder. When they're practicing, what are they doing?
That's a good question because a lot of the stuff it just seems completely it's confusing. Some of the stuff that we see week to week. My biggest problem with the offense right now, I love Devontae Smith. I love getting him involved. I am higher on Quez Watkins than I am Jalen Reagor.
Me too.
Just to be clear. At least he has speed. He's able to get open. And I would like to see him using the short passing game. That's where he can excel. Dallas Goedert, man, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Is he not like the thing is? I would say is he not as good as I think he is? But when I go back and I look at these games and I see how open this guy is most of the time, when you're looking at a guy that is such a big frame, such a QB friendly target, and he just doesn't get the plays drawn up for him, like Dallas Goedert is a tight end that can run a tight end screen. Like you can run that play for Dallas Goedert. We've seen that maybe once this season, I feel like. Just getting him involved, getting him in a rhythm. We see it. It seems like the last 3 games, first drive is heavy Dallas Goedert. And then the rest of the game, nothing. Like literally he's like exited the game plan for the rest of the game. And that's where I can see where you're coming from, Vance, with what you're saying as far as just designing plays and putting guys in position to be successful. As far as Reagor, it's hard for me to believe in him. Like, I guess the way I would put it, like, obviously you're not going to cut Reagor. Like, you're not going to do anything crazy like that. You'll see what you got in him. If Sirianni's here next year, I guess we'll see how they use him next year. But I feel like they need to go, regardless of those other receivers aside from Smith, they need to go out and get a veteran receiver and somebody to really command that unit. Obviously, Devontae Smith is a very good wide receiver, but he doesn't need to be over here teaching. He has enough stuff that he needs to learn himself. He doesn't need to be teaching these other young receivers. He needs to focus on his own game and making sure he's getting himself right and making sure he's improving. So I would just like to see a veteran receiver added to this roster. Clear out the bottom of those guys, like the Wards, the Artegas of the world. There's no use for these guys on the roster at this point. Next season, we're going in, and if Jalen Hurts is going to be here next season, which I just have a gut feeling he's going to get another year to develop, give him some weapons so that we can really see what he's about. Some reliable guys. I saw Temp Daddy on Twitter. He mentioned like Chris Godwin. I can't remember who the other one was. Cortland Sutton out of Denver. So those guys will be free agents this year. There's going to be some options to add some talent to that wide receiver room that's already developed. And I think they need to do that going into next season. So that's where I'm at on the skill position players, honestly.
Adam says, who's better, Aguilar or Reagor?
Aguilar. Aguilar by a mile. Yeah.
Not even close. But guys, here's my opinion. Even if they went out and got more talent, I mean, have you seen anything from this coach that would lead you to believe that he would be able to put them in the right position to succeed? Now,
I know.
Here's my opinion. You've got Devontae Smith, who's a weapon. You've got Dallas Goedert, who's a weapon. If Devontae Smith isn't getting 10 targets and Goddard isn't getting 8 targets a week, that's malpractice.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, to his point, before we move on here, it's like, okay, Devontae Smith's only played X amount of games in his career, Scotty. So it's like hard to rely on the rookie week in and week out. So when you see him get shut down, it's like we kind of chalk it up as like a rookie game, right? But in reality, you see what he does from a week to week kind of basis. We just saw what he did against the Chargers. He had 1 catch for like 10 yards or 6 yards against the Lions. Like that's on the coaching staff. Like the weeks where he's getting shut out, that's on the coaching staff. So rookie, veteran, I don't know if it matters if this coaching staff is in place right now. I really don't want to talk about the defensive side of the ball because I don't want to throw up on camera.
There's not much to say about the defensive side of the ball. I mean, there's not anything going on there. I think Slay's
what I will say about this game,
hopefully, but yeah.
What I will say about this game that wrap things up are, and I said this on Monday to you, Scotty, is that I saw some improvement in Sirianni's play calling, not a lot, but some. I saw some improvement in Jalen Hurts as a passer, not a lot, but some. They continued to do things against a formidable opponent, a la run the football, like they did against a bad opponent the week before. And they still lost the game, saving us from a, potentially fraudulent type of playoff run. Because that's what everyone was waiting for, right? Like, this is the game to where you can put yourself in a position to get that 6 or 7 slot, that wild card slot. And I think that's kind of out the window now. I know the schedule eases up, but then when you see what the Broncos did to the Cowboys last week in Dallas, we're in Denver. You really think the Eagles are going to beat that Broncos team? I don't. I'll tell you that right now. I'm sure we'll talk about it on Sunday, but
not a fat chance.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect. It was the perfect all around outcome, because if they would have found a way to win that game, obviously as an Eagles fan in the moment, I would have been happy. I would have been excited. But we'd be looking at what right now, 4-5 instead of 3-6. And they'd be in a position for that 7 seed with the schedule easing up, and everybody and their mother in the city of Philadelphia would be talking about how the Eagles are going to make a playoff run. And my mental health can't deal with that.
No, I totally agree. Just one last thing I wanted to throw in there, and it's something I jokingly said to Dylan on a previous show, but maybe the reason that everybody was so high coming into this season on the Eagles offense is because they were practicing against that defense. That defense, they're not getting very many good reps on defense against that offense. And maybe no wonder this offense comes out and looks confused week to week.
I really want to know how they won all those joint practices too.
Yeah,
they were winning day in and day out.
He wasn't trying to pander to the fans. That's what it comes down to. He wasn't designing the game plan for the fans' approval. Let's move on. We got a lot to go through in the rest of the show here. So real quick, Bears versus Steelers, Monday Night Football. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm not too high on these teams to want to spend too much time on them. But Pittsburgh comes out 29-27 win. It was a nail biter, but there was a lot of turmoil in this game, to say the least. Specifically, the taunting call on Marsh, as well as the ref kind of just turning and backing into him before throwing a flag on him. Just real quick, thoughts on the referees in that game and how that played out, and then just NFL officiating in general and the taunt rule.
You want to go first, Vance? I got it. All right.
You got it.
So the NFL officiating in every sport is becoming harder and harder to watch every year and every week. The NFL officiating with this new taunting rule put in place is becoming more brutal every single week. It feels like. What I'll say about the one where Corrente hip checked the dude, like purposefully turned around and hip checked him and then threw a flag for making contact with an official, I believe. I've never seen that before, ever. Yeah. I don't know how that official isn't suspended without pay. Like it's right there for you to see. Like he saw him coming, turned his body into him when the dude wasn't looking at the referee, made contact, threw a flag.
Already had his hand on the flag.
The Marsh, what was it? The sack or the run stop, whatever it was on a big play. Hate to break that to you, fellas. That was taunting. Listen, to an extreme level, no. My dude, you celebrated 4 or 5 times. Get your ass back onto the sideline and let us get the ball back. Like he did the jump and spin kick in the air. That was cool, whatever, right? Then he celebrated with some of his teammates. Then he ran and walked over towards the Pittsburgh sideline. And if he said anything, I don't know, but he walked over, stared them down, and then celebrated more teammates. Dude, get off of the field, right? So that, to a lesser extent, it's not what you would say is normally taunting. You can't celebrate a sack 4 times and walk towards the opposing sideline and stare them down. Like, maybe it's not taunting, but it's definitely stupid. So you get a flag for stupidity, and now you're back off the active roster, probably.
Thoughts, Vance?
Dude, they don't call it the No Fun League for a reason, man. For no reason. I mean, my personal opinion, Dylan, is that Marsh penalty was ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous, man. I mean, just let the guys play. Let them show a little bit of emotion, man. That's what football has always been about. Like, you out there, you make a play. He wasn't in anybody's face. Did he stare at the sideline? Yeah, he stared at the sideline because that team cut him. I get it. He didn't do anything other than stare at the sideline. I mean, like, come on, guys. Like, this is turning into a pansy league. It can't happen, man. Like, this is not the football that I grew up with. It's bad enough they're changing the basketballs and basketball, and everything that's going on in sports right now is a little bit crazy. But that's football, man. You got to let guys play. Let them show a little bit of emotion. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I love the emotion, and I'm not, like I said, it's not taunting. I don't think he did anything wrong per se. Like I said, I probably more of my like thinking of like the anger comes from like, dude, get off the field. Like, you can't stop celebrating 4 or 5 times on the field after you make one play. Now you just cost you by doing that, you put it in the officials' hands. Celebrate once, do the kick, what's up, get back on the sideline, celebrate more on the sideline. By you doing the kick, celebrating, let me walk over there while my whole team's on the sideline, stare them down, walk back, celebrate. You put it in the officials' hands to say taunting or no taunting, and you will basically cost your team the game right there. So, yeah, maybe I'm wrong for saying it's taunting per se. It's more so stupidity, and he apparently got flagged for it. The other one with the hip check was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, as far as like the taunting in general, I get what you both said. I just think it's such a stupid rule in general. Taunting. I mean, this is the most physical sport like in the freaking world, aside from like rugby. And you want guys to just hit each other with metal helmets and just not show any type of emotion or passion for the game. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. And then my only other issue with it is the fact that what they allow versus what they don't allow, right? Like, and then the times that they're calling these penalties as well. In the crunch moments of the games, you're throwing flags for this stuff when guys are going to be pretty riled up, towards the end of the game when it's a close game there. So the taunting in general, it's similar to what I thought about, when we played the Buccaneers a few weeks ago. We get that penalty called because I can't even remember what it was. It was Avery on the sideline or something. He gets called for a taunting penalty. They get an automatic 15-yard first down. Pretty much ends the game for us. We have to sit here and watch Antonio Brown go on to catch 3 more passes, and he celebrates after every single one of them, doing some type of crazy like first down and, butting his chest up to the crowd. It's like, we can't sit here and allow that. We can't sit here and allow the entire defensive unit to go down to the goalposts and do like a karate kick together or do a dance move together, electric slide, but then call taunting at the end of the game. Like, that just does not equate to me. That doesn't make sense. And it's simply unfair. And I think it gives the officials a situation where they can use their preference or their own beliefs or their assumptions. And I just feel like that there's no place for that in the NFL, because if that official, for whatever reason, just doesn't like the Bears, doesn't like that player, well, that's taunting. And I decide that because it's up to my discretion, when it shouldn't be like that. But we have Eagles Uncensored podcast checking in. Yo, what's good, guys? What's up? Thank you for tuning in. Final thing with that game. I thought we saw, some great growth from Justin Fields. He made some incredible throws down the stretch. He was really showing up in crunch time. Even got them a chance to win it at the end with a long field goal there. And then real quick question for you guys. Steelers, are they a playoff team? Like, are they good enough to be a playoff team in you guys' eyes?
Not with that quarterback.
It looks like he's shot putting the ball when he throws it, man.
The amount of times Ben Roethlisberger has just had the ball like fall out of his hand this year, I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times, and I don't see it ever. Like, he got away with it the other night because his arm came forward before he tried to reel the ball back in. But he literally threw the ball and then tried to like stop himself and like snatch it to come back. And he's lucky they didn't call a fumble. He's hard. He's a hard watch, bro. Like, I don't enjoy watching the Steelers play football at all. I don't like their skill position players. Like, I get out of here with Chase Claypool and what's
Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson's okay. Washington and they're boring, and he needs to hang them up.
You ain't lying.
I did just pick up their rookie tight end in a couple leagues, though. He's been cooking the last few weeks.
Fryermuth or whatever.
Fryermuth.
Yeah.
Fryermuth. He's out of Penn State, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Am I right? I thought he came out of PSU, but all right, guys, let's keep it moving here. One takeaway each from us. Week 9. I'll start first. Week 9, it was just a crazy week, and I think what it proved to me is that the NFL is wild. And each and every week, any one of these teams can lose. I believe me and Dylan had our lock of the week: Bills over Jags.
Oh, I went over too.
What are the Bills going to do? They go and they lose to the Jags, put up 6 points. How could you predict that? Las Vegas loses to the Giants. Las Vegas is a team I had in my top 10 power rankings last week. Cowboys get blown out by the Broncos, completely dominated. That score is completely misleading. It's one of those garbage time scores that you're seeing there with the 30-16. The Cardinals beat the 49ers without Kyler Murray or DeAndre Hopkins. And then, of course, the Titans were able to take down the Rams 28-16 without Derrick Henry. And the Titans defense is starting to look really real. They got a nice pass rush going there. So that's my takeaway from this week, is that none of these teams are safe week in, week out. So everybody needs to watch their backs. But I'll throw it to you, Dylan. What do you got this week?
My takeaway this week was that no one is running away with things. I was going to say no one's real, but that's not my wording here. It's no one. There's no team that sticks out to me that I'm like, they're the biggest threat to winning the Super Bowl. They're the team you got to go through, right? Because this week you're just seeing it more and more. You could just chalk it up as a bad loss or whatever, but there was a ton this week. Obviously, the Bucs are coming on. They were on a bye week, but they lost to the Saints the week before. The Bills lose to the Jags, like you said. The Cowboys lay a dud against the Broncos at home. The Bengals, Scotty, after beating up on the Ravens, and we're like, okay, is Joey B and the Bengals for real? They drop 2 straight. They get beat up by the Browns. The Rams lose to the Tennessee Titans without in their first game without Derrick Henry in LA. I mean, I don't know who's the biggest threat to winning it all. There's a lot of teams that are really good. The Cardinals, the Packers, the Bucs, the Titans, they're all really good, but there is no 2 years ago, you could point at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and say, they're the problem. That they're the biggest threat. Last year, obviously, they lose to the Bucs, but it was the Chiefs in the AFC. You're saying they're the big problem. And then obviously, with that defense and Brady, they were going to be right in the thick of things. This year, I don't have a read on it 9 weeks in. And that was my biggest takeaway with all those upsets this week.
So my takeaways are pretty simple. The Titans are for real, guys. And, when I watch them play, like, I'm never really all that impressed with Tannehill. The defense kind of struggled, I believe, early in the season, but now they're coming together. But one thing I'll say about that team, they take on the persona of their coach. That team they're tough as nails, man. They're tough as nails. I didn't see them going into LA and beating the Rams the way that they did. They beat them pretty handily. So, that's a team to watch out for. And the Colts have no chance of coming back and winning that division. They're done with the way the Titans are playing. And secondly, going back to week 1, guys, I think we all thought that we all talked about how much ahead of Sirianni was of Arthur. What's his name?
Yeah, Arthur Smith.
Dude, the tables have completely turned. Like, Arthur Smith has that team playing some good football, and the Eagles look more like the Falcons did week 1. So, kudos to Arthur Smith and the Atlanta Falcons, man. He, even without Calvin Ridley, he has that team playing pretty good football.
Yeah. What the hell happened?
The Falcons have improved. And
they were able to take down New Orleans.
Yep.
So does that mean, like, for one of the 3 Eagles wins, we get to no longer have to hear it was just the Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we are at this point. I mean, the Falcons are 4-4.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That is crazy to think about. So pretty wild week 9. A lot of takeaways. It seems like we're all on the same page. We're finding out more and more about these teams, or more or less.
Yeah,
I guess I should say, because the crazy thing about it is, if the Rams come out of that week with a win, then they would probably be the clear-cut team that Dylan is speaking on there. But they've just had a few hiccups this season where they just did not look like themselves. But yeah, the Titans look really tough, which leads us into the conversation. Top 5 power rankings. We'll finish up with top 5 power rankings for each of us, and then we'll touch on the Ravens and Dolphins tonight, give our predictions for that, and then we will get out of here. So who would like to start? Do we want to go from 5 to 1, 1 to 5? How do we want to do this, guys?
It's up to you, man. We can go from 5 to 1. We can kind of just go. I'll go 5, you go 5, Vance goes 5, I'll go 4. Like just kind of real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So again, power rankings. Like I said, not having a great read on any of these teams running away. At number 5, even though they are my Super Bowl favorite as of today, where I had to put them, I have the LA Rams. Kind of by default on who is above them, who has beaten them this season, and like Vance just said, when you come off of that loss at home Sunday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans, trying to figure out what to do without Derrick Henry in their lives, and you let them beat up on you like that offense. What did the Rams put up on Sunday night? 16?
Yeah,
16.
16 points against that Titans defense in SoFi. So the LA Rams, while I think they are the best all-around put-together roster, I think they are my Super Bowl favorites at the moment. I have them at number 5.
Want me to go next? So my number 5, I do actually have the Titans. So with that win over the Rams, I did have them cracking my top 5 here. I was a little hesitant, after the Henry injury. I just was very unsure of how that offense was going to look. They came out, they beat the Rams, and it really wasn't about the offense as much as it was about the defense, which has been very impressive. So I got the Tennessee Titans here at number 5.
My number 5, guys, I have the Green Bay Packers. You guys probably disagree with that, but yeah, I think they're solid, both offensively and defensively. But, I think outside of Devontae Adams, I think that there are some holes at the receiver position. They have a bunch of complementary players, but I do agree that Odell Beckham would have benefited greatly, and they would have benefited greatly from Odell playing in Green Bay, but I have them at number 5.
No, I don't think you're crazy at all because I have the Green Bay Packers coming in at number 4 on my list. I know my logic really isn't there because I'm punishing the Rams for losing last week, and I'm not doing the same for Green Bay. They lose by 6 without Aaron Rodgers, and I'm kind of thinking the logic isn't there, okay? But let's just say that I saw them shorthanded go into Arizona and beat the Arizona Cardinals, a team that I have higher than them on this list as of right now. Aaron Rodgers, no matter what we think of his choices and, his MLK quotes and how he's making himself look off the field this past week, he's hearing what everyone's saying about him. Don't piss that man off. Do not piss that man off. And I think the most impressive thing about their team is that defense is legit. That defense is really real. I watched them chase around Kyler Murray and make him struggle for 3.5 quarters in Arizona. So I have the Packers at number 4. I think they're good on both sides of the ball, and when he comes back, they're going to be electric.
Yeah, and I do have actually have the Packers at number 6, so I'm not too far off from you guys as far as where they're placed in my power rankings. There's a few teams that I have above them here that I just like a little bit more right now. So number 4, I actually got the Baltimore Ravens. They're sitting at 6-2. I just love what the Ravens have done this year, even through all the injuries on offense, defense, Marcus Peters, the running back depletion. They're still out there balling. Lamar Jackson, we're going to get into him in a few moments here, but clear MVP candidate this year. He has clearly stepped up his end on the passing game as well. His arm is looking a lot better. And you're having guys like Hollywood Brown start to come into fruition. They got Rashad Bateman back, who has been slowly creeping in with the target share there. And then Mark Andrews, of course, that tight end threat, who is up in the top 3 this year. I would love to know where he actually ranks. I didn't get time to look into that before this show, but their offense is looking lethal. And they still hoist a very good rushing defense. Their passing defense is at the bottom of the league, 26, I believe. But 4th-ranked rushing defense, which is always solid when you're headed to the cold time of the year. So that's who I got there at number 4.
So number 4, guys, this might be controversial too, but I have the Bucs. I have the Bucs at number 4. They played outstanding football pretty much most of the season. They had a little bit of went through a little bit of a rut with the Saints the last game, but I'm interested in seeing how they come out and play the next game. But right now, I have them at number 4.
Not controversial at all, Vance, because I have the Bucks number 3. I don't know what's going on with our 2 lists, but I got the GOAT and the Bucks at number 3. Obviously, another team that could come out of the NFC at the end of this year. They're coming off a bad loss against the shorthanded Saints. It seems since Tom Brady has been a Buccaneer, he's had his issues with New Orleans and the Saints. But I think they'll just brush that one off again. When you mentioned earlier how the LA Rams now have the best, set of wide receivers in this league. Well, they have the best, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the second best because they were number 1 before. The GOAT is playing at an MVP type level. Somehow, some way, as he gets older, he's playing at an MVP type level still. And that defense, obviously, the secondary has some issues, but that defense up front and with their linebackers are really stout. Coming off a bad loss, they got the bye week to think on it. I would not want to be their opponent this week. I don't know who it is, but definitely would not want to be them.
Yeah, so number 3, I'm right there with you, Dylan. I do have the Bucks right there as well. I'm sitting at 6-2, for the same exact reasons that you mentioned. The one thing I will throw in there is that their passing defense has picked it up a little bit. They've gotten a little bit better. I know whenever we were, really digging into their defense, right when the Eagles were about to play, they were close to the bottom, if not the 32nd ranked pass defense in the NFL. They have slowly but surely moved up to the 15th ranked passing defense, which is why I got them where they are. They already, as you guys know, have one of the best, if not the best, rushing defense. And then Tom Brady, MVP level. He's got a plethora of weapons. He's getting Gronk back healthy now. Leonard Fournette's found himself as a very huge piece of that offense, which takes a lot of stress off Brady's shoulders. But yeah, Bucks at number 3 for me.
So for me at number 3, I have the Rams. I like this. I really like the signing of Odell Beckham Jr. Like I said, and as you just mentioned, Dylan, I think they have the top 4 receiver group in the league. I think McVay has a ton of weapons at his disposal now. He can pretty much beat you in any way, as does Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
And defensively too. I mean, they have their star-studded on defense. When you talk about, adding a guy like Von Miller to that lineup, it's a great thing. You have Aaron Donald, you have Jalen Ramsey. I mean, the team is star-studded, and we've seen what they did to the Bucks when they went to LA.
Yeah.
Definitely if they get home field advantage, I don't think the Bucks want to go back and play in LA again. I know Tom Brady's the GOAT and he can beat anybody at any time, but that's going to be a really tough matchup for anybody going into LA playing on that turf this year.
Yeah.
I like it. At number 2, I have the team that just beat the Rams, the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is a little bit of recency bias because of the big win on Sunday night, but they are on fire. They just keep rolling off big wins against the cream of the crop as far as, championship contenders this season. Obviously, they beat the Bills a couple weeks ago, and then obviously they beat the Rams now, but before they beat the Bills and someone else. The Chiefs, back-to-back, yes.
They beat the shit out of the Chiefs.
Yeah, and now they just beat the Rams. Like, you're talking, they're beating up on contenders right now. Now, obviously, the question is, we've only seen a small sample size of life without Derrick Henry. What's it look like going forward? But like you said, this coach has them playing hard and gritty and tough. That defense is probably playing above the talent level that they have. And now more pressure falls on the shoulders of Ryan Tannehill. Will he crumble? He might. I don't know. But when you have some of the weapons on offense they have in A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, he might be able to make it work.
Yeah. Titans are definitely a team to keep an eye on over the next few weeks, see how they start to play. And, if that team that showed up in L.A. is the real Titans without Derrick Henry, that's going to be a nuisance for the NFL. At number 2, I have the L.A. Rams. So I still have faith in the Rams. I know they just lost to the Titans. I think that's, one of those games. Maybe I'm just, not giving enough faith into that Titans team or that Titans win. But I just think the Rams went out there, laid a clunker. They keep adding talent to the roster. And once, I feel like I keep saying this, but once that offense really figures it out and gets locked in and gets moving, gets all of those pieces nice and comfortable in that offense, it's going to be really hard to beat this team. Their defense hasn't been great this season so far, but I just, the more pressure you put on teams with your offense, the easier it makes it on your defense. And they added Von Miller to the mix there. That's going to significantly help their pass rush. And ultimately, that will help their passing defense. So they are still locked in at the top of the NFL. And, as far as clear-cut favorites, if there's no team that's really clearly ahead in my eyes, I totally agree with Dylan there. But if there was one team that I would pick, it would be the Rams. As that team, if I had to put my money on who would win the Super Bowl today, I would definitely go with the Rams right now at 7-2.
Gotcha. So number 2, Dylan, we have the same team at number 2, man. I've got the Tennessee Titans. And the reason is in this game, in this day and age of all of the passing and, teams putting up prolific yards through the air, that team is a throwback. And they kind of remind you they play very similar to an older Patriots team. They're built really tough up front. They have Simmons, they have Byard on the back end, who's a great safety. They ran the football, of course, up until recently, up until Derrick Henry's injury. And they have 2, bigger receivers. Now, A.J. Brown can get down the field, but, most of their passes are they're intermediate passes. Yeah. They play an old school brand of football that you really don't see in today's game. And I think that actually gives them a competitive edge in a lot of these games. So I really like that team moving forward.
All right. Well, we got the same number 2. We might have the same number 1 as well. I got the Arizona Cardinals, the best record in the NFL. They just beat a division rival without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. San Fran, who I thought was obviously they're going through their own stuff with injury wise and their quarterback situation, but I thought they'd be better than they are right now. Yeah. And the fact that Arizona is able to do that with backups was pretty damn impressive. So the Cardinals are number 1 to me, and we'll see what they look like when Kyler gets back.
Yeah, Kyler should be back this week. I don't know about DeAndre Hopkins. I think he still may miss this week. They should just let him get right. They have plenty of weapons if A.J. Green's back. Chase Edmonds, I think, went down in that game, and I saw he was doubtful for this week as well. So that could be a big loss. But James Conner's been very good whenever Chase Edmonds isn't there. So Cardinals number 1 for me as well. I'm right there with you. Just a very impressive win after a tough loss against Green Bay. A game they shouldn't have lost against Green Bay without Devontae Adams. But Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers always going to give his team a chance. And, you saw a blunder at the end of that game that kind of just didn't make sense. They had a chance to win that game against Green Bay. So I'm not holding too much weight on that loss. And they come back, they bounce back, able to come out, take care of business against San Fran, a team that they should beat. But should they have beat them without Kyler Murray, right? Like that's kind of the kicker there for San Fran. But just shows how impressive this Cardinals team has been, able to win even without Kyler Murray. So they round out my top 5 there.
Yeah, fellas, no argument here. I have the same team. I think, Zach Ertz was a great addition to that team. And, just looking at what Kingsbury has done, offensively, man, like you talk about weapons. That's another team. Even what they've done with a guy like Rondale Moore, coming from out of Purdue and getting him involved. Kingsbury is an offensive mastermind, and I would hate to play against him in the playoffs, man, because one thing's for sure, that team is going to put up points no matter who they play.
Yeah, no doubt. So we all agree on the number 1 team in the NFL, and, Cardinals, they're rightfully so at the top right now. They've earned that spot. They beat a plethora of teams, and they do have the best record in the NFL. So they're rightfully there at the top. Last thing I want to get into tonight, guys, the Ravens and Dolphins Thursday night football matchup. Ravens are coming in. Last time I checked on ESPN, they were 8.5 favorites over the Dolphins. First thing I want to ask you guys, I think this one for me is a pretty easy decision on who I think is going to win. So I really want to ask you, as far as Lamar Jackson, what he's been able to do this season. 65% completion percentage, 2,209 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 97 carries, 600 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Is Lamar Jackson the MVP this year? And if not, who is? And I'll throw this to you first, Vance.
Ooh, dude, MVP. Probably would have had to go Derrick Henry before he got injured, right?
Yeah.
Man, to be honest, Scotty, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure who the MVP is, but I don't. So here's the thing. Here's what we know. In a league where, the MVP is the guy that pretty much puts up the best numbers. I think Lamar Jackson, at this point with 13 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, is probably not. I don't know, man. It's difficult to answer because he's led that team with missing their top 3 running backs.
Yeah.
So I would think he would have to be in the conversation, but ultimately, just stats wise, like I don't know if those stats are gaudy enough to garner a win in that award.
What about you, Dylan?
No, I'm just kidding. He's in the conversation. I'll give him that respect. And his due there, but no, I still don't think he's the MVP right now. Tom Brady is somehow playing at an MVP type level. Tom Brady will not. I was going to say Tom Brady won't win it because Scotty, you and I talk. It's like why Jordan and LeBron didn't win MVP every year, but I think at this point he hasn't won one in a long time, and it's like, Tom gets the MVP at age like 40, 45, whatever, 44, however old he is. Aaron Rodgers is playing at an MVP type level, like Vance said, Derrick Henry before his injury was. Kyler Murray is playing at MVP type level. Matt Stafford has dropped off the past few weeks, but he was playing at MVP type level. So Lamar Jackson is definitely in the conversation. He has put up good numbers, but like Vance said, what's the ratio? 13-7 this season through 9 weeks? No, that's not good enough. You're averaging less than 2 1 point whatever passing touchdowns per week and almost an interception per week. Ain't cutting it for me, bro.
Yeah, no, I get it. As far as the numbers there and just the touchdown interception ratio, which they get a lot of their touchdowns on the ground. So a lot of them just get spread out between that running back group. But just as far as usage, he has to be in the conversation. He's as far as the usage rate of an offense, the way they use him in the rushing attack, he gets them down there, and sometimes the running backs get it, sometimes he runs it in, sometimes the tight end, whatever the case may be. But I definitely think he has to be in the conversation. I would still tend to lean towards Tom Brady, and then Kyler Murray right after him for me. And then I guess the only other things from this game, it's not huge. I don't know, is Tua even playing, guys? Have you been updated on that?
I have not.
I'm not sure,
but I think so.
Okay, so maybe they can make it interesting. The Dolphins are nowhere near what I thought they would be coming into this season. I was happy that we got their first round draft pick, but I did not think it would come out. I think we're sitting at the 3rd or 4th pick right now just by having the Miami Dolphins pick. So naturally, I'm rooting for the Ravens in this game. Dolphins can just continue to lose there. Some other side notes, Hollywood Brown, as I mentioned earlier, 46 receptions, 682 yards receiving, and 6 touchdowns this season. He's really starting to finally come into his own and become that number 1 wide receiver for Baltimore, which I'm extremely happy about. I have him in fantasy. Another guy I'm watching out for tonight, I'm looking at Rashad Bateman. I believe this is his 3rd game he's been back active from that injury that he started the season with. Each week he's getting more and more involved in the offense. I'm finally going out on a limb. I got a bye week this week from one of my players, so I'm sliding Rashad Bateman into my lineup in fantasy in a few leagues. And I want to see if he can get in the end zone tonight and become one of Lamar's favorite targets in that offense. Other than that, is there anything you guys are looking at tonight in this game? Any betting, gambling, fantasy, any implications from this game tonight?
Not for me.
So I think you have to take Lamar on the over in rushing yards. I think he was at 64.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
on FanDuel. I like that. I like Jalen Waddle for the 40+ yards tonight. I like Mark Andrews. I think I'm gonna go Mark Andrews 40+, and I'll go Gesicki 40+ as well.
Okay, I like that parlay.
I got nothing for you. I'm not interested in this game at all.
I did put up a few bets. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm sure I will by the time kickoff comes around, but it just has ass whooping written all over it to me. Listen, Lamar, we just had the Lamar MVP type of conversation. This is a bad Miami Dolphins team. Lamar, don't struggle against this team. Don't struggle as a passer against this team. Exploit this Miami defense, exploit this Miami team, and help all of us Eagles fans out and keep their pick in the top 3 for us.
Yeah, no, this is a game you would really like to see Lamar just kind of take care of, making an easy one. Part of me feels like the Dolphins on a primetime game like Thursday night, it's going to be some weird game where they play the Ravens really tough. But partially, I think they can play them tough for majority of the game, but I do think the Ravens end up pulling away. So one parlay I do have the Lamar Jackson. So I have him 66.5 yards rushing. I have the over. I have over 200 yards passing. I have an anytime touchdown with Rashad Bateman, so I'm buying in with Rashad tonight. He's got to get in the end zone for me. And then I do have Baltimore Ravens covering the spread at 8.5. So that's one parlay I have tonight. And then I have the Ravens straight up. I have Lamar Jackson anytime touchdown scorer. Myles Gaskin over 40 yards rushing, over 20 yards receiving. And then I do have Marquise Hollywood Brown with over 50 yards receiving. So those are 2 parlays I got going in that game. But, yeah, there's no major implications. I mean, you definitely want to see or you would expect the Ravens to take care of business tonight, keep their standing in the AFC, and remain one of those top seeds. Predictions tonight. We got to make them, Dylan, definitely for Pigskin Picks. And then we'll definitely want to get your pick as well, Vance. So I'll go ahead and throw it to you first, Vance. Who do you got tonight between the Ravens and Dolphins? And who do you think is the difference maker in the game tonight, I guess you could say?
You mentioned him a little bit earlier, Hollywood Brown. I think we've really seen him, come on this year. Coming into the season, he was a guy who would drop passes. And this year, I really feel like he's taken on that number 1 receiver role, and he's taken it in stride. So I like him tonight. I like him to go over, as you said, whatever his yards total is tonight, and I think he'll have a big game. With that being said, I think Baltimore wins this game fairly easily. I do expect them to cover as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I like Baltimore with a cover too. Like I said, 8.5 normally on a primetime game would be a little much for me. Scotty, it very well could be one of those weird – primetime football is extremely weird to me. Like you watch something transpire and you're like, if this was at 1 o'clock on a Sunday on the red zone, this would not be happening right now. I see no way, shape, or form that the Dolphins hang in this game. I think that the Ravens may even put up 30+ on them tonight. I think they win by double digits. And I think Lamar does probably put up some big-time numbers tonight.
Nice. So, yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I do have the Ravens, and I do have them covering the spread tonight. I said it could get weird in primetime. I do think the Ravens end up pulling away at some point in this game. But it'll be interesting to see the Dolphins. It'll be the first time I actually see the Dolphins play live this season. I'll check it out after the Sixers game. Of course, I'm not watching that shit show over the Sixers, but I'll definitely get to peep to in that Miami Dolphins team and get my feel for how our pick is going to end up this season. But definitely rooting for the Ravens tonight. Need them to get that W. But that is going to be it for tonight, guys. I know we definitely want to get off here and catch the rest of the Sixers game. It's already started. I got some parlays going in that game as well. But definitely want to thank you, Vance Crew, for joining the show tonight. It's always a pleasure having you, Vance. Anybody that was listening, watching today, if you listen to this tomorrow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, make sure you go follow Vance on Twitter at crew_love0. Make sure you're following him. And Vance, if you just want to let our listeners, our viewers know what you got going on as far as content-wise these days.
Yeah, so some of you may know I'm part of Heat Ratio Sports Network. I'm also 1/4 of the Flyer and Ice podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Flyer and Ice Pod on Twitter.
Perfect. And thank you once again, Vance, for joining us.
Thank
and as always, thank you once again, my man. And as always, thank you to my co-host, Dylan Davis. You guys can follow him on Twitter at DylanJD98. As for myself, if you aren't already, make sure you're following me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. Before I get everybody out of here tonight, as you guys know, we are brought to you by Manscaped. So DSM Media and the Turf Talk Show are brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TURF20 at manscaped.com. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And did I mention the wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code TURF20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the code TURF20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will certainly thank you. And I certainly thank all of you for tuning in with us tonight. That is going to be it for this episode of Turf Talk. Make sure you are subscribed to DSM Media on all your podcast streaming platforms as well as YouTube. Make sure you're following DSM Media at DSM_media on Twitter. You'll find our link tree. You'll find the plugs to every single social media platform. For myself, for Vance, for Dylan, that is going to be the end of this Turf Talk show. Thanks for